Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is Maintaining Frame number 46. Epic Showdown, Male Feminists versus Female Anti-Feminists.
Excellent.
Yeah, so, it's another one of these videos where they have, like, four people from one side of the aisle, four people from the other side of the aisle. They ask them questions. They ask people to step forward if they agree with the statement and, stay and not step forward if they disagree. Then the people who agree with the statement will come to the front and they'll talk about it amongst each other. And then they'll bring out the others and they'll have like a discussion. So we've done this a couple of times. I have to say that I like that Jubilee is doing this, because it seems like they're at least giving like some air to, like the other side, I guess. I'm sure that they still have a bias. I'm not claiming they don't, but it doesn't matter. They're doing this, so this is cool. So anyway, so today's show, I think, is particularly interesting, an interesting choice they made. And I'm gonna put it up on the screen here. What? Oh, I don't have the whole screen, but it's okay. So basically, on one side, you have male feminists. And on the other side, you have female anti-feminists. And that's I think that's interesting because, will the behavior of male feminists be affected? Will any of the sort of like, internal biases of female feminists or female anti-feminists come out? So, it's worth checking out. And we're going to get into it. But first, before we jump in, I'm going to give Allison the floor so that she can tell you about the fundraiser and other stuff.
Okay, so first of all, we'll get this out of the way. If you want to send us a message, please do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. You get the full benefit of avoiding YouTube's very strange rules about censorship. Yep, and they are very strange. And we get the full benefit of the monies that you send. So please consider that to send your messages to us. It will pop up in our patron Discord, and we will read it out. And you can also send it after the show is over, and we will endeavor to read it on the next show. So it's just the ability to ask us questions, and we can respond. And the other thing is that we are doing our monthly fundraiser, which we do monthly, because it is the monthly fundraiser. And if you would like to make sure that we can continue to create these shows, because we are 100% funded by people who want to see this content, and and we give most of the content for free aside from the patron-only shows, please consider supporting us at feedthebadger.com/support. I know many cases it's just a matter of tearing yourselves away from our dulcet tones and taking the effort. But please consider doing that right now and opening up a tab next to the YouTube stream or the Twitter stream or whatever you're watching on. I think Twitter is getting even better. Just feedthebadger.com/support. Like I think even their streaming services are starting to improve.
Really?
Too. Yeah. Well, it
turns out you can fire 80% of your staff and Twitter gets better.
Well, I mean, it's getting a little. It has its rocky moments, and we're still waiting for approval for the blue check mark that I got. I'm not sure if we're going to be what's up with that, but what they're actually looking for. Hopefully, they're not looking for like dread misogyny. They're like, no, you have committed all the crimes of misogyny. You have held women to account. You have pointed out the consequences of our own behavior, and you have dared to blame women for things that they could only have. They're the only ones who could have power over.
Yeah.
All the crimes of dread misogyny are yours.
Oh no, the consequences of my actions.
Oh no. Anyway, so open up that tab, put in feedthebadger.com/support, take a look at the options, ponder them. And if you're only able, I don't want to say only, but if you think that $5 is a meaningless amount, don't think that. It all helps. It all goes towards finishing off the goal. So once again, that's feedthebadger.com/support, and I will probably attempt some arm twisting at the half hour.
All right.
So feedthebadger.com/support. Go there.
Please consider supporting us so that we can keep continuing to make content. Okay. So before we get into the video, I do have a super chow that came yesterday, like, at the end of the show. I guess Hannah missed it, so I'm going to go ahead and read it out now. Sorry, I wasn't involved in that show.
Read it out on the next talk, actually. So.
Well, it might get buried, though, because we're probably going to get more super chows between now and next Thursday. Right? Okay. So well, I'll just read it now, so at least Meredith G knows. And okay. I could tell Hannah to maybe read it again and respond to it. So Meredith G gives us $5 and says, HPR Talk 257, thanks for the conversation. I've been at office jobs for over 20 years, and I have found that trashing the bathroom has become an increasing problem in the last 10 years. It wasn't a problem when I got out of college, as the number of women increased, bathroom cleanliness decreased. Well, at first I thought Meredith G was making a confession to trashing bathrooms, and then it got worse, but I guess she's talking about women in bathrooms. So that was basically it. Thank you, Meredith. I think it's true. I used to be a busboy, and so I used to clean the bathrooms at the end of the day, and the women's bathroom was notoriously bad. I couldn't understand it, but it definitely breaks that myth of, women being like super clean. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen with Allison, and we will... Yay. Hopefully you should be able to hear the audio from this too.
We shall find out.
Yeah, let's check, because I made some changes, and I think everything works now, including my soundboard effects. So
does it work better?
Join the call. What?
Does it work better?
Well, yeah. Well, firstly, it works, which is because I was having serious problems trying to get the sounds to play in Discord as well as for the audience, but I found a little program that lets me do that, so it's not an issue. But anyway, so did you join my live thing?
Yes, I am in here.
All right, so let's find out. Okay, so let's find out. So this first question is, or this statement, agree or disagree, and you guys let us know what you guys think in the comments. Women have more privileges today than men. And this is they're going to step forward if they agree and stay back if they disagree. Okay, here we go.
Women have more privileges today than men.
I went back and forth on this one, thinking about the difference between more and different. I think women have distinctly different privileges than men have, but with this new feminist movement that is arising, more of the third, fourth wave, we are finding, I think, that women are placed and pedestalized above men in a...
All right, I'm pausing it there just for the banana. You might see...
That is a lot of cleavage.
Oh, the woman in red?
I know it sounds shallow, but holy man.
that she is a character, Allison. That is a character.
She is stacked.
She looks like a drawing of a woman.
Yeah, she looks like Jessica Rabbit, except brunette.
Yeah.
Black-haired.
Somebody's asking about chroma key issues. No. It's not a mistake. I'm altering the color a little bit to give us that extra bit of protection against copyright claims and things like that. So if it looks different, I could also flip it. I could, add more, but I'm just doing that for now. So I just changed the color a little bit. It's not supposed to be this red, but that's what I did. So anyway.
Okay. Women were always pedestalized. This is well, I mean, she said that, as a result of this new feminist wave, no, women always occupied the positions where they had the most consistent resources and they were the safest, because that is the win condition for a society.
Yeah.
To make sure that the people who are producing the kids are safe and fed so that they can produce the kids. Throughout most of human history, we didn't have the sheer amount of surplus that the Industrial Revolution has given us. So we were much closer to the edge of survival, so it meant a lot more to make sure that women were taken care of, to make sure that we were able to survive.
Yep.
Okay, so now women may have been restricted to the places that were more safe and provided for, but that was like, if you look at the full scope of things, if women wanted to take on the male role, the rate of death in many cases would have increased. Well, for example, if women in the third world today took on the male role in the third world, there'd be 3 times as many women dying, 3 to 4 times as many women dying in the Middle East, in South Asia, in Africa, if they suddenly became men. And that was probably the case throughout most of human history. Well,
Yep.
it was the case throughout most of human history. If women took on the male role, they would be dying at the same rate as men. And you can't afford that because our reproduction is so difficult. People don't realize that, but we have one of the most bizarre reproductive cycles of any mammal on the planet.
Mhm.
It is astounding that we have become so populous. And the reason why we've become so populous is quite possibly because women were placed in a position where they were getting more consistent resources and they were safer.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep.
So it's like that's been the thing throughout all of human history. And now in our day and age where we live in a world of absolute plenty, it's warm, we have consistent little pods that maintain a consistent perfect temperature throughout the year. We have running water, we have electricity, which is actually a very non-toxic way of heating a house. Like soot can be very damaging. We have this situation that we're very, very comfortable, very materially comfortable. And now that we have all of these material comforts and we're not constantly struggling against the elements to survive, the new way of pedestalizing women is, of course, to restructure society for their participation.
Yep.
And that's what we have embarked on. Whether or not it's going to be successful, I'm guessing we'll find out. But it's become, we've replaced material resources with social resources. And in some weird sense, psychological resources. But anyway, that's what I had to say.
All right. That's all I got to say about that. Let us know what you guys think. Let's move on. So women have, okay, here's the thing. I forget her name, Amani or something. I'm sorry. But the black woman on the far left, she works for the Daily Wire. That's where I've seen her. She's also appeared on Dr. Phil. And she says that men and women have different privileges. It's not that women are more privileged. What do you think about that, Allison?
Well, I think she ultimately did conclude that women are more privileged.
Yeah. So it started off as it's different. I don't know what male privilege is.
Okay, let me put it this way. So when this entire situation is constructed where women are put in the most provided for and protected place, men would take a positive identity for providing that to women. That, I guess, is male privilege, to be happy to provide stuff for women.
Yeah.
It's the happiness, the contentment that comes from being able to provide for women. I guess the whole idea is that if women can provide for themselves, they'll get that sense of contentment. And yet that's not the way it's played out. Different. I really don't. I think that the whole concept of privilege for men is a bit odd because literally men are the ones who are used to maintain the structures that protect and provide for women.
Yeah.
So they will be the ones that are sacrificed. They will be the ones who are starved in the case where there's an emergency or a famine. They're the ones who are going to be thrown out on the street if this family can't feed them. The only privilege I guess they get is in previous eras they had more freedoms in law, but at the same time all of those freedoms and supposed controls came with caveats that actually made them not great at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so it never seemed to be like society. It's like I've never seen evidence of a society that privileged men over women because it just liked men more. all I've ever seen is a society that said men have to take responsibility for women in X, Y, and Z ways. We're going to give them the authority to do so, but at the same time, if they fail, we are going to slam them so hard they won't know what hit them. You know? So it's like you have this responsibility, guys, but you are 100% obligated to maintain it. And if you don't, you go to jail.
Yep.
It's like, that's not a privilege. I don't see anything in history that really shows any male privilege, period, in the context of what feminists describe. Like every time you see any kind of sort of authority that men have over women, it's paired with an expectation of taking responsibility for a baseline level of responsibility. And if men don't uphold that baseline level of responsibility for women, they go to jail. So, for example, men had to sign for their wives' credit cards, but they were also legally obligated to pay off her debts. So Is that a privilege? Is it a privilege to, and furthermore, if you just look at the opposite measure, men could get a credit card in their own name, but they didn't have anybody who would be expected to pay off their debt. Is that a privilege, really? Because they were expected. Like they could hold men accountable for their debt. So men could take debt. But since the only person they could hold accountable for a woman's debt was her husband or a male relative, they had to sign off. It's as simple as that. It's like, that's not a privilege. That's just an asymmetrical responsibility.
Yep.
Okay.
It's true. All right, let's keep going.
In a lot of ways, there's affirmative action hiring and scholarships where women, sometimes even regardless of academic standing or achievement, are prioritized above men. But men also have different privileges that they get to access. I struggle to say more, but I think I do agree with the feminist movement.
That's true. Women get preferential treatment in the workplace, in college applications. I mean, we've talked about that, so I'm glad that she's at least pointing it out.
Can she identify any male privilege whatsoever?
Well, that's why I'm asking, like,
Yeah, like
because there is this assumption even amongst, I mean, it's obvious, but this is an assumption even amongst people who are non-feminist, anti-feminist, conservative, whatever it is, that men do have something. They have some kind of privilege, and sometimes that's like CEOs and President of the United States or Prime Minister. But that's only reserved for a very small percentage of men, and they don't look at the homeless men.
It's not because they're men.
Yeah.
It's not because they're men. It may be because they come from more wealthy families.
Yeah, it's because they're connected.
Although there are some men who manage to work their way out. Less now. I mean, the advent of all of this woke stuff has made has almost entrenched class differentials. But that's not, men aren't CEOs because they're men.
Yeah.
They're CEOs
I wish that were true. I would just go be a CEO.
Yeah.
Give me a promotion, guys.
I don't even think that being a man affords a man, like, it doesn't afford an individual man a greater likelihood of being a CEO versus a garbage collector. I mean, do we ever think about that? A long time ago, I looked at the stats. For every one male CEO, there's something like, I think, hundreds of male garbage collectors, or the equivalent, like 1,000.
Yeah,
and
probably.
For every one female CEO, for every one female CEO, there's almost one female garbage collector. Like the ratio is much more like 1 to 20. Like the ratio for men is 1 to 1,000. So a man is far more likely to end up in the worst jobs in society than a CEO. A woman is almost as likely to end up as a CEO as in the worst jobs. Think about that. And then we turn around and say, wow, men have privilege. Do they though?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, really, although I would say that garbage collectors make a lot of money. So I it's not.
It's a very dangerous job.
Or like crab fishermen or whatever. Oil rig worker.
Yeah, they make money, but it's a dangerous, uncomfortable job.
It's not glamorous.
It's not glamorous. And the point is that, let's say you're at the start of a race, right? And you're part of a group that 20 of you will end up, I don't know, cleaning sewers, and one of you will be the boss. Or you could go into a group or run the race where 1,000 of you will end up cleaning sewers and one of you will be the boss. Which group would you rather be in? There's your answer for male privilege, by the way. There's your answer. It's which group would you rather be part of? The group with a 1 in 20 chance of being a CEO, or a group with a 1 in 1,000 versus the worst jobs? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's keep going.
You are born into this life with a vagina. You inherently have 10 times more privilege than a man. From the time they are little, girls are always like doted on, and you're so pretty and cute.
Very coddled.
They're coddled, right? As they should be. You know, we want that feminine, nurturing energy in them. You can kind of be a
not just the cleavage. It feels like she's buff. She has, buffed her breasts to a shine.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's a little distracting.
She's this woman is very strange. Like, I mean that she's super spiritual and wooey. That's why she has like a third eye, and just talking. She always talks about like masculine and feminine energy. Like, it's kind of cringe, and she's dressed like one of the Wicked stepsisters. Like,
yeah, but she's not wrong.
I mean, I guess I get where she's coming from, and I appreciate her sympathy or empathy for men, but yeah. But then again, she does say some shit that a little later that's kind of like, what are you talking about? But anyway.
Woman and have a hot body and be a millionaire on OnlyFans. Men don't have that privilege. Now, women don't have to like work to get a guy. They're just hot, and then guys come to them and spend their resources on them. A man has to prove himself. He has to build a body. He has to make money. He has to build influence. He has to become a protector, a provider. Women.
I'm pausing it there just again, for the banana. I do want to say though, OnlyFans is not the cash cow that everyone makes it out to be. And we're going to talk about that on the news show on Tuesday. That
really?
Yeah, okay, so the thing is that there are women who make like shit tons of money on OnlyFans, but they're like a very small percentage. And most of the women on there, they make minimum wage. So that is something that there's an article about it. I thought it was pretty interesting. So okay, anyway. Let's keep going.
Just have that naturally by just having a vagina.
That's why it's frustrating, because the feminist movement has been all about women acting like they don't have rights and acting like they have it pretty hard in the modern day world. I can't think of a single thing that I don't have that a guy has, or
that they only have. I would say the one thing I would say is the safety.
All right, just pausing it there again.
Yeah, you don't have that either. Like, men don't have that either.
Yeah, I know. This is where she goes off the rails for me. Basically, this is the thing that it always comes down to. It's not about whether or not women are actually less safe. It's about whether or not they feel less safe. And women always feel unsafe, even though they're more safe than most men, who generally, don't talk about like how unsafe they are. But we already know that men are more likely to be victims than women.
It's not. Here's the problem. Men naturally have a higher risk tolerance.
Yeah.
So they're naturally going to feel safer in situations that, maybe they shouldn't feel safer.
Yeah.
You get a young man and shove a gun in his hands and put him in a trench, and he thinks he's going to survive. The risk assessment, of course, the first firefight, that goes out the window, but the risk assessment for men is different. So you can't look at how women feel about their safety in order to determine how safe they are. Women are very safe, much safer than men. They're safer from almost everything. Mm-hmm. Like, they're safer. And honestly, I think if we had if we had stats from researchers that were neutral, I think we'd find that men are more likely to be victims of domestic violence. They're more likely to be victims of rape. They're definitely more likely to be victims of strange forms of stranger violence like mugging and carjackings and other things like that, and assaults. So we're going to find that men are vastly more in danger than women, and that the real difference is biological. You know, you could put men, you know, in a shark tank and they're like, yeah, this is fine. You put women just, 10 feet in front of the glass viewing where you can see through into the sharks, and you put a woman there and she's going to be freaking out. The sharks are going to get me, just because of the biology.
Mm-hmm.
Just because men, they don't perceive risk in the same way women do. And it actually really is harmful to women to constantly lie to them about their level of safety, which is what feminists do. It's what media does. Because you're taking somebody who's naturally sort of fearful, and you're just being like, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. There is a monster that lives under your floorboards that's going to seep out and do the worst possible things to you at any moment. You really should be afraid. You really should have a phobia.
Yeah.
You really should live in terror. That's what's abusive.
Mm-hmm. It's true. All right. So
one of the things I like about Tangled, because that was the dynamic with Mother Gothel.
Oh yeah. Tangled was so good. Did you know that? For a Disney movie, I think it was the last good one.
It was. I would find it good. Period, because it had a send up of a lot of the stereotypes about men and women, and
yeah.
But yeah, go say what were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna point out that a lot of the people who used to work at Disney that were involved with Tangled, they left and they started they're joining like an independent project that's doing an adaptation of David and Goliath. It looks really good. Like I saw like a little teaser thing they put out, and it's being crowdfunded, but it looks really good. Like I thought, that's a good story. If you're gonna adapt something from the Bible, I think David and Goliath is a good start. So, but anyway,
yeah, I might have to do some arm twisting because nobody put anything through.
Oh no.
So once again, to make sure that we can continue to do this show, and I think that's really important. I really appreciate how much you guys extend yourself to make sure that the show happens each month. Of course, we still have to ask, and we still have to get this funds in to be able to continue this show. These subjects are not easy to talk about, and a lot of people just don't, and this is something that I have noticed. I've noticed that a lot of channels that get really big identify an enemy, and they just return everything down to that enemy, not a behavior that we all engage in, because I think what we do here is we talk about behaviors. Yeah. I point out that it's not just feminists who engage in these behaviors, conservatives also do it. But this dismissal of men and this constant obsession about women and women having it worse with everything, that's a behavior. That's what we call out. I've noticed that things that get really big identify a enemy and then just go back over and over and over and over and over again on that enemy. And I don't think that we do that. But because of that, what we talk about, I think, is less, I want to say the word compelling, but it's just something that doesn't necessarily resonate with as many people. But I honestly believe that it's the one thing that can improve society and make our world a much better place to live in. Simply said, compassion for men. And it's also something that I think that we're well overdue for starting to develop. And I think it's already starting to bite us in the ass. But anyway, my overall point is we don't exist unless you take the effort to go to feedthebadger.com/support and put whatever you're able to do in the hat and make sure that we're able to continue this work, which I think it's unique. I think it's uniquely valuable. It's something that I don't see a hell of a lot of people doing.
Yeah.
And once again, and again, thank you all for your support every month. It's amazing. And please, let's continue because, we're moving into year 10. I don't want to stop now. So feedthebadger.com / support. Please, just $5. Just put my mind at ease.
All right.
That we aren't screaming into the void. Anyway, let's
Okay.
take it on.
I got a super chat. Jim MCL. I'm sorry if I'm supposed to pronounce that. Gave us $20 and didn't say anything. Just gave us $20. So thank you, Jim, for that. Really appreciate it. But maybe if you wanted to say something to go along with it, send us a message and tag @BadgerLivestream so I don't miss it.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? So thank you so much. All right, let's continue.
Safety thing. That's the only thing that I would say is that women are disadvantaged from, by nature, women are not as physically strong. I mean, you're physically strong, but as physically strong.
I'll take it.
It's great biceps. And men just are. And if you're walking down a dark alley as a woman, you're going to feel some type of way sometimes,
That's
right?
why we need guns.
There.
Well, like I said, Allison already explained it. It's not that men aren't in danger. It's not like they're just going to strong their way out of a mugging or a murder. It's because men are more they're less risk averse. I'll just put it that way. That's all. This is why, and the thing is that, this is why I always say, just because women are more afraid of, of being attacked or of experiencing violence or whatever, doesn't mean that they're actually in more danger. And we can't seem to easily parse those things. So
There you go.
I'm going to talk a little bit more about the judicial system. When it comes to, let's say, domestic dispute, if a woman calls the police, they automatically show up, arrest the man. The Duluth model, I think is how you pronounce it. And that's already in place. It's not necessarily like a right or anything, but it's certainly in all of the police departments.
All right, so she met this woman. I think is my favorite of all of them. Although I don't know that she's truly based yet. But mentioning the Duluth model is a good start. The Duluth model's been around for. Do you know how long, Allison? It's been around for a long time.
It's been around since definitely the 70s, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Guys, is there something wrong with the project at all? Because it's still, nobody has put anything through, and that's really unusual. So if
what do you mean the project? You mean the fundraiser?
Yeah, sometimes I make a mistake and then people aren't able to put anything through. So it would, if anybody has been trying, just give us a message.
All right, let us know if you've been trying.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's keep going. Iron Maiden gave us $5 and says, "I wish Karen and Allison were on that panel." I mean, it's not. First of all, we're really kind of low profile. I think it would be great too, but the other thing is that I don't think they want people like Karen and Allison on there, because the truth is that I don't think they're ready. Because it's gonna be the thing is, okay, I think that the perspective that Allison and Karen come from, and that we all share here at HBR, it's just like Allison said, it's unique. It's not a kind of let's go back to the status quo, or which is what a lot of conservatives usually argue for. Let's just go back to second wave feminism, right? Or let's let's demand these other things from men instead of I don't know, eliminating their masculinity. That's just not that's not an option, because it's kind of how we got to this point. So that's something that they're not ready for. So if you got on a panel with other, let's say you were on a panel with anti-feminists, or however they want to categorize it, Allison's gonna end up fighting with her own side as well as the other side, because they're all gonna be but wait a minute, I like the privileges that I get, So I don't know. I don't think it's going to. It probably won't happen for that reason. And then there's the travel. I don't know. Allison's still banned for the next year, and then I think she'll be good to go. In 2024, you should be able to travel.
I don't think I can travel for anything business related, though. I'll get hit by the the border guards again.
Yeah, maybe. But it's coming up, and when it does, then maybe Lindsay and I will go over and visit you. So, all right. But anyway, let's continue.
Is if feminism is all about equality, why would you automatically arrest a man? When they arrest him, his name is in the newspaper automatically. The fact that a woman can say Jane Doe and she doesn't have to put her name out there, what skin in the game is there?
And there's so many instances of that. I know men personally who have had domestic violence within the relationship with children involved, unfortunately. And the woman attacked the man in front of the child, and he's still, I know 2 instances personally.
All right, again, just pausing for the banana. They're talking about domestic violence.
Yeah.
What?
I really am curious what the feminist women are going to come back with, because
You
this
mean the
is
feminist
pretty
men?
devastating. Yeah, this is the shallow end of the pool, but it's pretty devastating. Like, to be honest, I think that it's sort of like expecting the average person to really understand calculus for them to really understand where me and Karen are coming from, or Hannah, to a degree.
Yeah.
Maybe Hannah's more accessible. I don't know.
Yeah.
She's certainly more clear, I think, especially me. I mean, I don't really expect people to understand me. I try my hardest, and I'm not trying to sound like I'm not trying to be intellectual, It's just that the things that I see are so rarefied that it's difficult to bring them to the point where it starts to be, you can contend with it. You get what I'm talking about, Brian.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think that this audience gets it, though. I think that's like, if they didn't, I don't think they'd just keep coming back.
But the ideas that we talk about, like, there's this perception that I guess we're misogynist, but what I think the actual thing is that we're able to perceive the world without the necessity of the women is wonderful effect.
Yeah.
Either we power through it rationally, or we just don't really have it. And we can see, how women's agency shapes their lives and the world around us.
Yeah. So.
But the funny thing is that I don't think people who do perceive the women, like people who are operating out of the women as wonderful effect, I don't think they necessarily care about women as people so much as women as symbols of something inside themselves.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that if you're going to treat a woman who's a rat bastard the same as a woman who's a decent person, is that really fucking fair?
Mm-hmm.
Is that justice? Like, just because they're women. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I get it. So
I don't think that's misogyny. I think, to me, misogyny is just seeing women as symbols of something that you need yourself. Like, just they don't even exist as people. They're just basically boobies, and a reward system. I mean, to me, that is misogyny, and yet that idea that women and it's not even just like a reward system. It's like the respect women thing. I'm like, well, what the fuck are you respecting if you respect all women?
Well, they want it. They want it's always demanded unconditionally, which respect has nothing to do with that. You know,
and that picture. These 2 pictures are the same.
Yeah.
That meme. The meme, from I think it was Pam from The Office. These 2 pictures are the same.
Oh yeah. It's tell us the difference between these 2 pictures. They're both the same
I'm
picture.
like that. I'm like that when I see people who are like, you should respect women, and then people who are like, I do things for boobies. Like I do things for women. For women's sexuality, or to have access to. It's like these are the same thing. They're the same exact thing. You are saying that women's value to me will always take precedence over what and who they are as moral individuals.
Yeah.
That, to me, is the misogyny.
Yeah.
Okay? Not recognizing women's actions and the consequences of the actions and their full spectrum as a moral agent. That is misogyny.
Yeah.
What I do, even if, I get into these arguments like, and I'm like, why can't you blame women? Why can't you expect women to take responsibility? Why is that so? And I can feel it. Like, it's this, when you say things like, single moms are responsible for social ills. through their choices and how to structure their lifestyle. You can't say that, even though it's statistically 100% true. And it's not men abandoning them. Many of them are choosing the lifestyle from the onset, or they're choosing men who are so obviously bad, or they're leaving perfectly good men because they get bored.
Yeah.
You know? And we have to live with the consequences of their choices. But no, you can't say that because that's misogyny. You cannot say that women are doing something bad because that's misogyny. But if you cannot recognize women do bad things, you aren't recognizing them as choosing good things either.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
sorry.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to tell you that Great Indoors in the chat said that he tried to make a donation and it got canceled for some reason. So maybe you need to look. And the Lost Rune says the fundraiser shows $130 at the moment. I don't know if that was before or what. So maybe you should go take a look really quick and see that, you know, there aren't any issues. Because I think at least one person is trying to donate. Also, I just want to point out that Allison has not gone robotic the last 2 shows we've done. I don't know why, but I'm glad.
It's Streamlabs, I think.
Maybe.
I think there's something going on with OBS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Jonathan was actually pointing that out, and I think it is because of Streamlabs.
Yeah, maybe.
For whatever reason. Well, I mean, you have to pay for it, but at least apparently it's better. You know, in that sense.
Except I don't know how to save my settings, but okay.
Yeah,
I'll figure it out. There has to be a way, because
yeah, they can't be permanently like, no, you never can save your settings.
yeah, that would be ridiculous.
I'm looking here. I see that you attempted Great Indoors. It did actually show that it went through, but it hasn't gone through. So, I mean, it showed there's like this mismatch between the fundraiser and the people putting things through on the back end. So sometimes if something fails, it'll still apply it because, you know, way to be confusing, right? But yeah, I just got rid of that, and I'll take a look and see if there's a problem with that particular. Sorry,
Okay.
guys.
Did
yeah,
anyone else put anything through?
Yes. I'm just trying to troubleshoot that, right?
Okay.
Okay, so let me take a look here. Doop-a-doo.
All right.
All right. Okay, so it looks fine so far for me. Maybe it was just the hiccup in the back. Try again, Great Indoors.
All right. Try again, Great Indoors. He said he's going to try in a minute.
Okay. And I would like to thank the Lost Rune for $25.
Thank you, Lost Rune.
All right, all right, all right.
Polaris for $5. Thank you, Polaris.
Thank you, Polaris.
Do it.
And once again, if you'd like to join our very generous supporters, that would be feedthebadger.com/support. And we'll stay tuned on the progress of Indoors, or the Great Indoors, and his attempts.
All right. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue.
And he's still fighting to get the child back. That's from the Me Too movement. Congratulations. You guys got that.
It kind of invalidates the women who do come forward and who have faced rape and sexual assault and all of that, because then it kind of turned into a Twitter hashtag.
That's correct.
Where women were like, oh, you know what, I'm going to join. Like, this seems fun. Like,
For clout.
it's not
For
fun.
clout.
I think it's a mixed bag. I don't think the Me Too movement was inherently harmful. It's the Me Too movement when you couple it.
I do. I think we already have something in place for that. It's called the cops. So I think that the Me Too hashtag is too exploitable, and I think it does far more harm than good, and I don't think it's necessary.
No.
Because it essentially is precedented on the idea that if women didn't have the Me Too hashtag, they would have no recourse. That's ridiculous. There's human resources departments, there's police, there's bosses, there's all kinds of avenues that you have. And I think when you put it out there as a hashtag and everybody is just supposed to believe it, then that's how you get into essentially the only thing it can hope to do is expand on false allegations. So I mean, I could, because like if you were really harmed and you didn't go to the police and then 10 years goes by, you know, that's kind of on you. I mean, are women adults or not? So that's my feeling anyway. I think it was always a scam.
Yeah, and like I think you put it best. It just expands the ability to make false accusations.
Yeah.
I don't think, and if you anyway care about due process for men, you're not going to promote these kinds of extrajudicial punishments with no due process.
Yep.
Like, women lie. You know? If men had the ability to do this, feminists would be out there saying that there should be bodies protecting women from men's false accusations. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if men could make these accusations in public and get them to stick, feminists would say that there should be a government organization to prevent these men's accusations and to punish them on behalf of women.
Yeah.
But we don't have that. I do have something. We got a $100 super chat. Thank you. You
Super
are
chow,
anonymous.
you mean?
Yeah, just now. There's a
Yeah, I
super
know. I
chat.
saw that. That's awesome. Thank you.
I don't know if that was the great outdoors or the great indoors. Okay, and then we got $100 through the fundraiser from a Better Strawman. So thank you, a Better Strawman.
Thank you, Strawman.
Yeah.
All right,
Still waiting.
all right.
I think the great indoors hasn't put it through, but please tell me if maybe that was your super chow. I don't think that's you. I'm pretty sure that is not your name, but maybe you are hiding under the name of a different Dutchman.
Hiding under an alias.
Hiding under an alias.
Yeah, the Flying Dutchman.
Let me see what's going on here. Something is coming through. This is so very mysterious.
Yeah.
Here we go. The great indoors. You finally got that $100 through.
Nice.
A bit of pushing and into the
Hello there.
the woo hole. God damn.
What?
I'm sorry. I said it took a bit of pushing to get it into the woo hole.
Oh, I see. That's gross.
WooCommerce is the commerce plugin.
Yeah.
So thank you to Great Indoors for 100. Thank you to A Better Strawman for 100. Thank you to Jamie for that $100 super chow. Thank you again to Polaris for $5, Lostron for 25. And if you would like to join our very generous, very, very generous supporters, thank you so much for taking the weight off my mind and taking the time to go and help us out at feedthebadger.com/support. Very much appreciated.
All right.
All right.
Okay, let's keep going. So when she says, when you couple it with like...
With something like believe all women, that's when it becomes an
And the
inherently harmful.
victimization of women who
Encourage people.
aren't really victims.
The prompt is, do women have more privileges? We have privileges simply by virtue of being women. We have privileges with affirmative action. We have privileges in family court, and we have privileges as far as being believed and forgiven. That's something that should be acknowledged.
That's correct.
All right. So that's her...
Oh boy.
What?
Oh boy. I'm looking forward to the feminists.
Yeah, here come the male feminists.
The male oh man, I'm gonna see I think we're gonna see a lot of salt right now.
Maybe. I don't want to say it, but do you guys think there's gonna be some chest beating? Like, well, the thing is, this is the thing about male feminists that I noticed. So I did watch a lot of this video, not the whole thing. They don't get as, aggressive towards these women as they would if there were men. Because I think when it's men facing down men, then the male feminists tend to be more like gorillas, like they beat their chests around them. But when they're facing women, I think they're confused because they're like, well, do we want to do this, or like
that was one of the most amusing observations, sort of amusing observations about the Jubilee male feminists versus male anti-feminists.
Mm-hmm.
Like the male feminists were so everything was dominance hierarchy and which lobster is on top and which one's got the most female friends and whose the one whose virtues are entirely like created by his own, manifested by his own individual will, and who is the biggest guard dog of his women. That was the feminist side. And the male feminists were like, I think men have problems. I like to make sure my male friends are taken care of, because we know we gotta, we gotta cooperate and care about each other, and we have concerns. And it was like, holy shit. If that isn't exactly what I talk about, that male feminism is really just an expression of the most aggressive, competitive, and jealous, and lack of any kind of sense of male solidarity, concern for other men, cooperation with other men. Like, they are the silverbacks.
Yeah.
And actually, silverbacks aren't that bad. I'm failing for a male animal, like a male feminist.
Yeah, I like gorillas. I don't want to really.
Yeah.
They're like bonobos.
Yeah, they're like, well, yeah, I guess maybe.
Or hyenas. I don't know. Like,
maybe a little less rape than bonobos.
Yeah.
No, hyenas. No, there's no mammal that's like a male feminist. They are 100% like, even male mammals, when they fight, they tend to avoid being too aggressive. But in male feminists, you really see the absolute worst of the aggressiveness of men towards each other.
Yeah.
It's, like you said, there was the one feminist who's like, all of my virtues have nothing to do with masculinity. They're all individual. And you were like, yeah, that's a pretty, you like women, or you want to take care of women. And I think that's a masculine thing. That's a pretty low bar there. That's like almost every man.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's just funny to watch.
It is.
And so you got the male feminists who are super competitive. Of course, they're not going to be super competitive with the women's. They're coming over, and you can probably hear in their thoughts, because they're male mammals. They're thinking, well, what do I need to do? What plumage do I need to display to attract these females?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got another super chow from Pax Max for $15. And Pax Max, who's watching us on Rumble right now, and I see you guys there, says, Rumble still works horrible, but I'm battling through. I thought it was VPN, but no, maybe because I'm in Europe. I'm still kind of working out some potential issues with the bitrate that's going out. So I know before we were experiencing like drops completely, but I think that, because I have figured out a solution, I can probably fix that, and maybe it won't be an issue. I don't think it's too bad, though. It seems to be going very smooth. But, like before my computer ate its own asshole, it was like, I had to turn off my firewall. And then when I did, it was fine. And so I think that it's a filtration bitrate issue, maybe. And it gets jammed up. And maybe Rumble is worse than YouTube, because it's like, it's not a multi-billion-dollar corporation. So but thanks for watching us on Rumble.
Let's see what kind of plumage the male feminists attempt to show here.
Yeah, let's
because
do
it's
it.
difficult for them. It's like you can see these peacocks waddling over, but the peahens, they're a little different than the usual peahen.
Yeah.
Not sure what kind of plumage to show, but let's see what they do.
All right, let's see.
Can I have the disagreeer step forward? I appreciated the distinction of more versus different privileges. You can't just use a broad brush and paint the entire debate and say, all right, well, this is men have more than women, that's it. Like, women that must inherently then have no privileges. That's not how it works. And that's where we start to get into the idea of like intersectionality, where...
Wait, what?
What?
What the hell? Like, that there was at no point... Well, I mean, I would say that men have no privileges, because I don't think that that's how society was arranged at any point.
No.
Like, every single time I see something that people say, oh, that was a male privilege, when you look at both sides, no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was the expectation that men take authority over women, but were held to a standard of responsibility that was not actually that beneficial to them.
Yeah.
Unless you think it is beneficial to go to jail for someone else's debts or someone else's crimes, you know, or you know, and then the other things like, oh, a man could beat his wife with blah blah. Well, first of all, no. But second of all, you know, even in the feminist framework, a man could beat his wife with a stick no wider than his thumb. Well, a woman could beat her husband with a tree trunk if she so chose.
Yep.
There was no legal control over her violence towards him. So what does that even mean? Anyway.
Yeah, it's true. All right, so this male feminist right here.
Oh, what I wanted to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
He's a trans man. What I wanted to say, I'm sorry I didn't get to this point, is nowhere did anyone go to that extreme on this panel. I would have, but these women didn't.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. They didn't. So all right, so this guy here with the red hair is gonna go into intersectionality because of course.
Where another woman who had a different experience, if it was a trans woman, if it was a woman of color, if it was
But
a
I
woman
don't
who
think we're
was,
including trans women into feminism.
and I think we definitely should.
I don't think we should
don't think
at
we
all. I think that trans women should not be a part of the feminist movement because a man, just because they, you know, wake up and feel like they can be a woman one day, could come in and then suddenly know what it's like to have a period or know what
Oh
it's
my
like to have a
God,
child.
that was
It's
a
anything
derail.
Yeah, slightly.
I think it's suddenly like, wow, bam, now we're talking about this.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing though. When you bring internet intersectionality in, when we're trying to just talk about men, you basically, you derail from the male conversation, right? So
That's the primary purpose of intersectionality. It's to
it's
continue
to hide
to maintain
men's
the
suffering.
perception, hide men's suffering, and continue to maintain the role of men as invulnerable provider. That's it. Like that's, you know, because if you actually look honestly at all of this, almost every intersectional point, men have it worse than women. But because they have it worse than women, and we can't have that, we can't allow ourselves to perceive that, we deflect it onto the intersection of, we deflect it onto blackness. Even though black men have it significantly worse than black women. We deflect it onto transness. Even though those trans people who are perceived as men have it significantly worse than those trans people who are perceived as women. We deflect it onto gayness, even though gay men have always been more stigmatized than lesbians. Or we deflect it onto poorness, even though poor men face considerably more disadvantages with no charities to their name than poor women.
Yeah.
Like I got into an argument with a feminist on Twitter, and it was like, he argued that poor women face maybe equivalent challenges to poor men. I'm like, no. Who do you think all the charities are for? Disenfranchised women. They're not for rich women. We don't create charities for socialites. We create charities for women living in poverty. We create charities for women who are minorities. You know, like that's what the charities are for, but we don't have those charities for poor men. Okay? The social will isn't there to take care of poor men, and they are in such a bad shape that even the mainstream media is starting to take note. But what my overall point is that you take the poor, you take out the man, and you say, no, it's the poverty. And then when you say the poverty, you can say, well, women in poverty must be worse off than men, even though it's patently false when you look at the statistics. Well, women will live in poverty, men tend to die in poverty, so that can skew the statistics, by the way.
Yeah.
But if you look at the statistics, homelessness and extreme poverty, it's extremely male. You know, but by putting in that intersectionality, you deflect onto this one trait, and all of intersectionality is basically just that deflection. We're not going to look at how men are harmed. We're going to deflect it onto traits that men share with women, and then we're just going to just blah, 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 nuance, and suddenly women are the most oppressed by these things, even though statistically not.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
Infuriating.
Let me see. So, any new thank yous to give? We've gone for an hour now, so.
No.
Okay. That's all right.
Okay. Let's
Okay. Hmm?
I'm not sure. I'm like, why do we have to go on this tangent? Like this particular individual. I mean, she's an anti-feminist. What does she care about what?
Yeah, I know. I was thinking, like, what? Why does she care, like, who gets to be a feminist and who doesn't if she's an anti-feminist? Like, don't you just want the whole thing to go away? But I think that she's, like, one of these, can we please have the status quo back? Or my perception of the status quo, which is, like, whatever before feminism went, like, quote, off the rails, end quote. But yeah, sorry. Like, this is the situation we're in because of people like you. You have basically let it just get out of control, or at least where you draw the line, is when men are affected to the point that, some of them were like, I think I want to live as a woman because I certainly don't want to be what I am because it's terrible. So I'm sorry, but you made your bed. Now you have to deal with it. You don't get to do that.
Well,
You should have stood up for men years ago.
Yeah, stood up for men years ago. If she was a former feminist, then she supported all of the rhetoric that, like, who wants to live as a victim, for trans men, and who wants to live as an oppressor for trans women? Nobody, like, people, it's more than just trans. Like, trans people are the ones with the guts to actually do this shit.
Yeah.
To go through this. There are a lot of young people who are living lives of absolute conflicted misery because of they can't feel any kind of comfort in their gender role, any kind of value in being
Hold on
a woman.
second, guys. My voice meter potato is trying to get me to register. 2 seconds.
My God.
1 second. There we go. Okay, Allison. Sorry about that.
Voice meter potato. Do you need to register?
Did you hear me?
Something?
Yeah, so I had voice meter before, which is how I organized my audio, and I had paid for it. And, they gave me like a code to register it and all that. But when my computer imploded, I needed to like get all of my apps over again. And so when I downloaded Voice Meter Potato, now it's telling me that I haven't registered, even though I did before. So I guess because it's another instance, I have to pay again. So sorry about that. So like right now, I'm kind of using an unregistered version, which means that every so often they're gonna ask me, huh?
Message their customer service. That's not fair at all. Just tell
No, I
them
don't think it is. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's fair.
Just message them. They're usually, like, if they're a decent company, they'll be fair about that.
Yeah,
but,
I'll do that.
Okay, so there's, the trans people are just the ones with the guts to do something about it. There is a huge, huge iceberg under the surface of misery. Men and women, young men and women in particular, who take no value in who they are. Women who think that, who are biologically, there's a component of them that most likely is drawn to being taken care of. I know this sounds horrible, but if you are part of a species in which the female needs to be taken care of, there's going to be an element of that in your psyche. And yeah, we should try to overcome it, but at the same time, there's probably always going to be some of that. And they're told that the very creatures that have co-evolved with them to provide that care absolutely loathes them. And all of this is combining to make people miserable and be unhappy with being men and women.
Yep.
And the trans, it's just the tip of the iceberg. And everybody's like fighting over the tip of the iceberg. And it's like, what happens if you get rid of the tip of the iceberg? Well, the iceberg gets a bit lighter and more of it reveals itself. Like, it doesn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
This is an expression of people's profound discomfort with their identities.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think I am at least in agreement with the fact that I don't think this needs to be a conversation about trans people, because I think that's a separate discussion. I think that when we're saying, like, we're talking about what men, whether or not men are less privileged or whatever, I think the trans thing just serves to, like I said before, it's a distraction. We can maybe do another thing on that and talk about it, but I just want to talk about men, darling. So.
Yeah, you're right. I should shut up. Let's get through this.
All right, let's get through this.
From men replacing women in sports to men replacing women on podcasts during Women's Month, and when we're talking about women's health, or you've even got biological men who think they're women going to the White House speaking on behalf of all women.
I do have a question.
Yes, you're not a feminist.
Yeah, well.
Like, apparently you are a feminist. Then.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. No, that's the. Yeah, the thing is, I think they're all feminists to some degree.
Was this the one you said was the best?
I thought that was the blonde. No,
Okay,
the blonde
right.
on the right side.
Okay, let's
She
see
was the
what
one that brought up the domestic violence stuff and the Duluth model. The brunette is, I mean, she's a normie feminist that thinks that she's not a feminist. So.
Okay.
And for you, based on the prompt, though, because you've lived in both experiences, at least socially, I'm curious, when you transitioned to male and people started perceiving you as male, like most people did today, what privileges changed for you, or what did you see enter your life that you didn't have before?
Yeah, and
Oh
that's,
God,
that's sort of
here are a
where
bunch of lies coming.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
no,
I'm
you
expecting
can't
that.
ideologically possess people to say, well, did your lived experience deviate from your understanding of God?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not good. You're not going to get an answer there. Let's hear what he has. It's
All
a
right.
trap.
It's a trap. So the blonde is a trans man, which again, I don't think that you're gonna have like a really productive conversation unless you're just talking to biological men and biological women about this.
I don't think he's perceived as a man outside of certain circles. So he does not have a male experience.
Well, I mean, I think that he passes okay, but the thing is that, like, I don't know, like, this person is going to have not much to share in terms of their lived experience because they weren't a man from like birth. So
where a lot of my beliefs in feminism do lie is because being out into the world as a gay woman was the way I was seen. Men treated me definitely not nearly as well as they did. I was bullied in school. I had people call me slurs, and it seemed like it was because I was threatening to like the male structure that we are in, where it's like male and female. Because I was a female who liked females, I was somehow infringing on that, and so they didn't like me.
All right. I'm pressing X to doubt. That's liar. I'm because the thing is, well, I don't know if like that's that person's experience, but from my understanding is that gay men are far more like likely to, be bullied and beaten and all of that than lesbian women. I've never seen it, never, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I've never seen it. So I have my doubts about that. I think for the most part, the thing that lesbians have to fear the most are other lesbians when they're in relationships with them. That's just me though, and I don't know.
What did he say specifically again? That
he said that men treated him differently when he was a she lesbian woman, which again, I've known lesbians, and I mean, if by treating them differently you mean you don't want to like go to bed with them, then yeah, but like in general, I just treated them like one of the guys, and I've known plenty. I used to live in a gay neighborhood, and
so how did the men treat him differently?
He didn't say. He just said that they did. And again, how do you know?
Like, dude, men treated you different. Wasn't that what you wanted?
Yeah.
Like, yes, people are going to, like, for the most part, the average person is going to treat a man differently than a woman, or a trans man differently than a woman. You know, I really doubt you've truly lost your female privileges, but at the end of the day, but there you go.
Yeah,
have women treated you differently? Like,
they probably, in a way. I mean, if I learned that they did lose privileges, I wouldn't be surprised by that either. Are you guys able to hear the soundboard when I play a sound from it? I think you should, but I'm just making sure.
Okay, you should just play a sound, be like, okay, we're gonna play a test sound for you.
I'm
guys
gonna play a
and
test sound. Yeah, hold on a second. Here we go.
First, take a big step back and literally fuck your own face!
Wow.
All right. I think it's going through. So
Okay, since we're taking a bit of a break to see if you guys heard that sound, I'll just want to remind you once again, we are doing our monthly fundraisers at feedthebadger.com/support. If you have the ability, please put something in the hat for us so we can continue to do this work. Feedthebadger.com/support. Thank you again to everybody who's helped out so far today. Very much appreciated.
all right.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, it looks like it's working. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so I guess we can continue. Do you have anything else go through yet?
No, that's why I was doing a little call.
I see. Okay.
Give us some more stuff that we need to thank you for, guys.
Yeah, give us a reason to appreciate. I will play a new sound for the next person who donates. I have some new ones.
I mean supports.
Yeah.
Feedthebadger.com.
Sorry, I
support.
didn't want to say the D word.
Yes, the D word that you're not allowed to say.
Okay.
Okay.
Things change naturally when you socially transition and are perceived by the world in a different way. When I transitioned from being perceived as female to the world to just pretty much passing or blending full-time as male, was that I got a lot more respect from other men. People listened to me and took me seriously. In a social passing setting, people aren't going to harass women who are around me if I'm walking with them at night, which is just a benefit I never thought about.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, did you earn the respect? Like, what do you mean by respect? And is it possible, because here's something that I was just thinking about, okay? So if you are using the word respect incorrectly, and you know what you really mean is cordial or polite, okay? Maybe men are more comfortable showing like that politeness and that sort of cordialness with other men because those men are not likely to accuse them of something. And they're less likely to do it with women, like because I think that it damages the social, the socialization between men and women because men will feel like they're being predatory if they greet a woman, for example, and the woman doesn't reciprocate. Like Did you see you saw the video? I sent it to you of the woman in the parking lot. She put a TikTok up where a man like tried to get her attention. And she yelled at him and said, "Do not approach me. Do not approach a woman in the parking lot." And it wasn't like an indoor parking garage. It was like outside, Yeah, that's the kind of thing that makes men say, "Well, I don't think I should ever approach women again. I don't think I should talk to them." And if they're not talking to you, and you've contributed to this kind of like climate of distrust and fear that men have for talking to women, and then they don't talk to you, and then you become a man and they do. That doesn't mean that you're gaining male privilege. It means that men are not nearly as intimidated by speaking with other men.
Well, here's another thought. If you define disrespect as express any kind of interest in, like sexual interest in, of course men are going to respect you more because they're expressing less sexual interest in you.
Yeah.
That's how you define it, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Unless you want to destroy the process of mammalian reproduction, which, I don't think the human race will survive that particular progressive talking point. But anyway, let us... All
right, let us continue. I got a super chow from Pax Max who gives us $10 and says, "Play it again, Sam. Play it again, Sam." So let me see. I'll play this one.
Throw me a frickin' bone here. I'm the boss. Need the info.
All right. So I'm gonna get more Dr. Evil quotes because I think they're most applicable to us. All right. Anyway, thank you for the donation. We're gonna continue the video now.
Of caveat, actually. So I say that yes, there are some privileges that women have that men don't, but also there.
I'm gonna pause it here for a second. Notice this guy's shirt, Alpha Elite. Male Feminist muscle shirt that says Alpha Elite on it. Okay, anyway,
guys, I think he's in stealth mode. I don't think this man is a real feminist.
Actually, so far he's like the one of the most woke on that side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So anyway, let's keep going.
There's privileges that men have that women don't. I don't think women are more privileged in our society because I could get a woman pregnant and I could just run away.
They could get you
Well, they
for
can
child
get you for
support.
child support, which
But
they
are you
do.
saying she can't run
You
away?
could go to jail.
Are you saying
They could
she
take
can't
your
run away
money.
from the pregnancy?
But you
Yeah.
could
But
actually
yes.
physically
Yeah,
leave.
okay,
I know
here's
what
the
you're
thing.
saying.
So he tried to say, well, look, I can get a girl pregnant and then just run away and not be a father. No, you can't. It's like, you can literally not have sex with a woman and be made to be the father. Like,
Okay, and also this was never a thing.
yeah.
Like nobody ever liked men screwing women and running away. That's
Yeah.
what shotgun marriages were for.
Yep.
And that's what all the biblical stuff about rape was, because at the time rape was theft. It was the
Yep.
theft of your girl's reproductive potential.
Yep.
So this was not like when you look at the biblical times and you're like, oh, they made the girl marry her rapist. Yes, because he wasn't a rapist as we understood it. Because
Yeah.
if he was a rapist as we understood it, her uncles and father and brothers would mount up, lasso his neck and drag him until there was nothing left of him but a spinal cord. Okay? And then they weren't going to wait until the circuit judge came back 6 months from now. So the cases that the circuit judge, 2,000 years ago adjudicated were cases where the male members of the family weren't going to immediately go kill a fucker. Okay? They were the ones where property was at issue, where expectations of responsibility were at issue, where the guy had seduced the woman, or even, probably even more likely, the woman had decided to seduce the man, perhaps by getting him so drunk he passed out, as in the case of the story that The Handmaid's Tale is based on. Jacob, I think? No.
Oh,
Was it Jacob?
yeah, I know what you're talking. We talked about that.
Yes, and I am terrible with names, guys, but that was the one. And literally, that's what happened. He was so drunk, and then the woman took advantage.
Tricked him into impregnating her, and then
No, just sleeping with her. That was it. Then he was screwed.
Yeah.
And he had no idea that it was not the woman he wanted. So, I mean, it was basically rape. I could see that happening in biblical times since it was mentioned in the Bible. A woman just takes advantage of a man and is like, yeah, you're hooked to me for life now. That was the cases that a circuit court judge who came around like every 2 years would adjudicate on, not the cases of actual rape.
Yeah.
Because her male family members wouldn't be waiting for, oh yes, let's see what because there was no justice system as we understood it at that day. The justice system was your uncles and your brothers and your father, got their pitchforks out and went and turned the guy into a slurry of meat. That was justice.
Mm-hmm.
The judge wasn't there to adjudicate on cases like that.
Yeah, and it was always that's like you said, it was always a thing. Like lynchings, and even then, like that, there were cases where you had innocent people, being killed over raping a woman. So, or supposedly raping a woman, and maybe they didn't. So that's like this. It's always been a thing. Like this. Like,
yeah, with the human society, we're usually torture and murder first, determine if the guy actually raped the woman last. Yeah. When we go back into our more primitive justice systems, that's a lot more common.
Yep.
Than you can imagine.
Yep.
When we start going into like survival situations, I remember there was a situation where people during Katrina and they took shelter in like an athletic dome, like one of those baseball diamond coliseum things, and there was a rumor started, which was most likely false, that a man had done something untoward towards a young woman or like a girl.
Ooh.
They fucking killed him. Like, he was a greasy smear. Like, this is what happens when you get groups of people together. and society goes away. You get charged with rape, you become a greasy smear.
Yep.
This is terrifyingly true. So that's always been the case, as far as I can tell. And then you get sometimes in Muslim countries, you get some weird thing where a tribal elder or an imam will be like, yes, you raped the daughter of this tribe, well, therefore your own daughter will be raped, or some weird crap, like really weird tribalist crap like that. Eye for an eye. But not usually. Usually it's let's go to the murder. And honestly, that probably people would never have accepted judicial oversight for crimes like rape if they hadn't originally murdered men, like just executed men for rape. Like that like 150 years ago. You got charged with rape, you were dead. You no pass go, you just die. You're just gonna get your head chopped off.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or you're
People still think that should happen. Like, I still hear it. Oh, he should be buried under the prison. Well, that's basically death, right? And the truth is that, like, if we're gonna have such a severe consequence, and of course feminists will argue that, and a lot of normies will argue that rape is worse than murder. So yeah, that's the. I mean, I think a lot of people want that, and I think it hasn't been thought through, especially because due process seems like to be a rare commodity these days. So.
Well, we all want to get back to that, huh?
Yeah, I'd like to. Yeah, it'd be nice.
I mean, okay. So let's no, you can't physically leave, dude. There's no point in time where you could physically leave unless you live. Jesus Christ. This guy is as distracting as the woman with the huge tits.
I know. He's just like,
you could cut glass with those things, guy.
He's kind of putting on a show. It's like, look at my pecs. Also, respect women. It's weird. It's weird. Like, you wouldn't think this guy would be, you wouldn't think it, but there you go.
No, you're right. Now that I think about it, his plumage is, I'm gonna protect you, lady.
Oh yeah. He's taking us to the gun show. He wants us to know. This is what a male feminist looks like,
He's also doing the undermining other men in a way.
Yep.
Because he's like, I acknowledge this shit, and other men won't. So yeah, I'm the one who's gonna. Anyway, let's keep going.
Yeah. All right, let's. Okay, so I got another super chat from Pax Max. Oh no, I already read that one. Sorry. There was a super chat from Iron Maiden for $5, and Iron Maiden says, "Hey, random question: if a trans woman had sex with a man without telling him she used to be a man, is that considered rape?" Probably not, but I think that a man should be able to figure that out, like right away. So,
I would say buyer beware, unless you really want to start getting into the more rarefied forms of rape, and men are going to get hit by that worse.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
All right. So let's continue.
At the end of the day, like, I don't see women having more privileges than men because we don't have the same. There's no way to objectively measure it.
Well, and in the scenario that you pointed out.
Okay, then how can you even? I'm guessing that you think women have less privileges, but you just said there's no way to objectively measure it, and I would agree. And in fact, the whole discourse around dominance and submission doesn't even make, and oppression and disenfranchisement doesn't even make sense when it comes to men and women.
Yeah.
You can talk about legal rights, especially today, that women have and men don't. You can talk about statistics, but at the end of the day, I couldn't say who's worse off, and I think that's what really repression comes from, because women are freaking miserable, and I mean, even though I would say that it's up to women to actually challenge this, living in a world that's constantly overemphasizing your phobias is abuse. It's abusive. I mean, on one hand, I will say 100% men are being abused. They're having their identities abused and maligned. But women are also being abused.
Mm-hmm.
and apparently it's hitting women pretty hard. Okay, let's
Yep.
keep going.
Okay, let's keep going. So if a woman was pregnant,
she wouldn't be able to get an abortion in most
In some
parts
states,
of the
now,
country.
yes. In some
That's
states, now.
That's a major
absolutely true as well.
disadvantage.
Yeah.
No,
can't get an
no,
abortion,
no,
but children-
no. Look. Okay. Even the state. First of all, most states you can't get an abortion. Is that even true?
no, it's not.
Because I've looked at the abortion laws, even in the strictest states, they still give you up to, like, I think 6 to 12 weeks.
Yeah.
I think it is. You know, and if you're gonna, like, and I know.
But the
these
thing
people-
is, though, yeah, I mean, it's obviously not true, but there's a lot of things he's leaving out. Number one is that, you know, there are things you can do in most states. Number two, you could also make wiser decisions on who you have sex with and how you do it. This is like it's always about, like, oh, women can't be responsible for this. They're disadvantaged because they can't just, you know, be 304s. That's not really a lack of privilege.
No.
And the men also, if you get a woman pregnant and the woman decides to keep it, guess what? Or let's say you want to keep it and she decides she doesn't want to keep it. Men don't get a say in any of that.
Yeah. But I want to just address the whole thing about, abortion. First of all, like, I haven't yet seen a place that supposedly bans abortion that bans it prior to 6 weeks yet.
Yep.
Maybe there is. I don't know. But here's the thing. If you are in that place, move. If you want to have an abortion after 6 weeks, move. Here's the other thing. Why don't you be careful with your birth control?
Yeah.
All right. And I know birth control fails, but then also be very careful about whether or not you're missing a period or you have the symptoms of pregnancy. Take pregnancy tests, because they're ones that will reveal if you're pregnant at 4 weeks or even just 2 weeks. You know, be careful. And you can probably get it within the window. So what the hell are you talking about?
Yep.
Like, I mean,
Well,
you have enough.
It's a thing that you can hang your hat on in terms of, like, female victimhood, and it doesn't apply because women make choices. And if we don't accept that women make choices, and sometimes they make bad choices, and then they have to deal with the consequences of their bad choices, then we can't like even begin to consider women to be adults, because that's what it requires. So yeah, I mean, sorry, but first of all, you should vet a guy before you sleep with him. Second of all, you should learn how to use contraception, and you should take it very seriously. And you know,
if you
like,
have an accident,
yeah, if you have an accident,
aware that you might have gotten pregnant.
yeah, and if you don't want that, then, you know, do something about it as soon as possible. Because like allowing, I think in a lot of ways, abortion has made women less responsible, because they literally are like, well, I can just kill it whenever, and they just do eventually. Like, I'll get around to it. You know, it doesn't become a priority. And if they decide not to, then the government says, well, you know, if you keep that, but you don't, like, you know, like, marry your husband and or the father of your child, and you kick him out and you take custody, we'll give you a bunch of money. We'll keep you housed and fed. You know, we'll give you a phone. So, like, it's like we're incentivizing the bad behavior, and so we get more of the bad behavior.
Yeah, to our eventual destruction.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm going to be 100% saying it. Women's choices matter to the continuation of a society. And if we don't hold them to standards and make them take responsibility for the consequences of their actions, then we are going to lose the near utopia that we have constructed. What we live in now, guys, is a near utopia.
Yep.
You know what? If we showed our lives to people who lived 250,000 years, they would think we are living in heaven.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And we're throwing it away because we simply can't do one thing: hold women responsible.
Yep.
For their actions.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, let's keep going. Yeah.
Children can go get a gender change at 12 with a
Feels
parent
like you're
at
very
15
fixated on
without
that.
consent.
That's not true.
Feels like you're very
as someone
fixated
who
on
went-
that.
I know the laws as well.
I went through this.
I know in some states you can, and in Thailand you can go at 16 and get your everything cut off.
Guys, it's less than
I
5%.
I know.
It
It's such a
doesn't
small.
matter.
It's such.
See, that's the thing. The blonde. She's like this. We're talking about a tiny percentage of the population.
Jesus Christ.
The trans thing is. I'm sorry, but that's just not relevant. Like, it's just not
Can we
relevant.
not talk about the situation for men and women? Yes, trans people have their own issues. Yes,
Yeah.
this is not time for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
This is not the time for that. Okay.
Such a small
doesn't
subset
matter.
of the
But you
population.
can't. But you can't say that about. It does matter though. When you have a child, you're not a
That's
parent
between
yet.
the parent and the child.
Can I ask you a question though, or ask the group a question? There's more world leaders who are male, and typically I think
Good, and that's
leadership.
a good thing.
I know it's
Well, he
weird
was
coming
talking
from
to
me,
me.
but I do want to know. It doesn't bum you out that it's less likely
No.
for a woman to become president?
Stop. You fucking smarmy son of a bitch. If I were there, they would have to hold me back from punching out this fucker. No.
How about
I swear to God, I've seen this expression on Male Feminists so many times. It's this I don't know how to describe it. It's this subtle sense of contempt and superiority.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. Because guess what? Like I talked about before, you got two races. In one race, 1 out of every 20 becomes a CEO, and the other 20 become sewer workers. They have to pick out pieces of other people's poop out of crevices.
Mm-hmm.
And in the second race, 1 out of every 1,000 becomes a CEO, and the rest become sewer workers. Which race would you rather win, you smug fuck? God,
Yeah.
I hate that expression. Okay, sorry. I'm getting a
No,
little
it's
triggered.
okay. It's weird, like how he kind of like makes it this narcissistic thing when he says, "Doesn't it bum you out that like a woman is less likely to become president?" Well, first of all, it's not really less likely. It's just that women are less likely to pursue that because it's like a tremendous amount of pressure to do a job like that. Second of all, most people don't become president, like men and women, right? Most of them, like Jeb Bush, probably never. Please clap. But
For the average person, it's much more meaningful how many men end up in the worst jobs versus women than
Yeah.
who becomes president.
yeah, but then he's like, it's like he thinks, why aren't these women? Why don't they have the big sad because they're not able to be president?
Why aren't they doing the big sad for me so I can feel,
Yeah,
good?
it's such a bad thing to say. I think it's just really bad because, I mean, you don't know what these women want out of their life. Why are you telling them, like, we need a female president? Why? It doesn't do anything. It doesn't change things. We have a female vice president. Women are not getting fucking, political science degrees. They're not suddenly becoming engineers. That's not how the world works.
And they can be perfectly happy without having to pursue exactly. And here's the other thing. I like the one woman's answer. That's a good thing. Good
Yeah.
for you, lady. And honestly, even if I was a person who was like, yeah, there should be more women CEOs, in the face of this amount of smug cuntery, I would say that. It's a good thing. Go, next question.
Well,
Ugh.
yeah, I think some of the anti-feminists, at least, they say it is a good thing, but let's see.
I don't feel bummed out because I know that if I want to pursue something that I want to do, I have every capability to do it in this country.
I don't feel bummed out. Women should not be in positions of extreme leadership like presidents, et cetera, because we're too emotional.
I'm feeling a lot of
too.
emotions
Men
right
can be
now.
impulsive.
Very
I'm
much.
not saying that men can't be
Like,
emotional.
we had a
Men are
president
more
Feeling a
Watch out,
lot of
hey.
emotions right now. Why?
What? Oh, I think that he's just trying to counteract, I guess, by saying, I'm emotional and I'm a man.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
you're
could be
feeling
president.
a
Actually, you
range
probably won't be.
a range of smug and contemptuous. I swear to God, for a lot of these guys, it's more about maintaining that identity of invulnerability than actually creating a functional
Yeah,
or better world. You know what I mean?
absolutely. This is why male feminists.
But did you see
I don't
the
know,
face?
man. I could not be in that position. It's like the worst thing. But
I know.
anyway,
It's like thank God I'm not a woman. Yeah, okay, you believe that, bud.
yeah.
Ugh.
I got a super chat from Albert Nada Retro. He gives us 550 Canadian and says, I saw this before, and the anti-feminist women seem more feminist than the feminist guys, in my opinion, especially Janelle. I don't know. I think the guys are overall worse, but I think the women are not a lot better There's no really red pill people on the panel. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's like watching a bunch of normies bobble over something that
Yeah.
they can't possibly
Yeah,
comprehend.
and there's like one of them that at least knows about the Duluth model. But I mean, think about this. I think it's really difficult for anti-feminist or supposedly anti-feminist women or non-feminist women to give up their privileges that they know that they have, and so they're going to always play that kind of like enlightened moderate centrist position of, well, I think that we should respect women and men because I don't want to lose any of what I'm getting. I just don't, maybe they just have a problem with the excesses.
They don't have to lose. Like, here's the thing. Women don't have to lose anything. They just have to take responsibility for what they have. That's
I agree.
it.
They wouldn't lose anything, to be honest.
And just, for the love of God. Yes, exactly. If you don't, you're going to lose it.
Yeah,
But
like responsibility is actually
what this
freeing,
is like,
if that makes sense.
yes, because it allows you to develop your skills in managing your life. But
Yeah.
what I wanted to say is that there was like this in the South Pacific, there was a very remote tribe, and they had like the I think the U.S. Army, the U.S. Air Force built a runway or like a place for airplanes to resupply on this island with this remote tribe. And throughout the war, they would go and they would drop supplies, and some of them would share stuff with the natives. And then when the war was over, of course, they packed up and left. And when they came back, like maybe 10 years later, to see how the natives were doing, or just as like a survey or whatever, this remote tribe, the natives had constructed this effigy of a plane because they thought that it was the shape of a plane that caused supplies to come down. It's like the same kind of idea behind constructing, a deer so that you can attract deer to eat. And of course, that's not the way it worked, but they were still worshiping this plane as the source of supplies, of like
The
food
sky
items.
god.
The sky god. This is these people. They have absolutely no clue what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They are on a like their minds can't even comprehend how deep this shit goes.
Yep.
So they're basically just like the men are basically just well, where do I open my plumage? What kind of plumage should I have? And the women are like, how do I get these guys to do things for me? And it's like it's just watching them worship their freaking sky god.
Mm-hmm.
And build their fake airplane.
Yep.
All right.
Who would literally just
And now
go
we
on
back on
Twitter
his
every
brain
day,
doesn't
every
work.
second.
Wait, 1% so she can hear us.
To be logical and to be sound is not something defined by gender. It's just something defined by your own psychology.
The left and right brain, it
That's just
actually
false.
is, though.
That's
That's
just
not
false.
false. It's not
Come on,
false.
man.
It
Come
is
on.
not
Really?
false.
I
Really?
know, your question about leadership, I think, is a very poignant question because a lot of people are asking that. Why don't we see more female presidents?
All right. I'm just pausing for the banana there. The left and right brain apparently is false, so it's a myth.
Why don't we see more female CEOs or Fortune 500 companies? And again, it goes back to those gender differences. There will be women who will be exceptions to the generalized rule of what it means to be feminine, and those women you will see succeed in extreme leadership. But we should also discuss what the conditions of extreme leadership are. We're talking 80-hour work weeks, subscribing yourself to your career and nothing else.
Going family,
and
children.
Psychologically and biologically, women tend to lean in the direction of not making those choices for themselves, while men are highly competitive, they are highly analytical, systematic, they're willing to put in that time and take extreme measures to gain career status.
Exactly.
And they get rewarded by a female at the end of that.
Men do it because they want to attract women.
Yes,
That's why.
Like they want to attract the best mate. Like
Yeah, they're
you
not-
gotta
they're-
accept that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like you can't. I mean, like I've said multiple times on this show, hunter-gatherer societies living at the edge of survival, they will use men and women to incentivize each other. So the most productive hunter gets the most productive gatherer for a wife, because she's going to be responsible for his material comforts, and he's going to be responsible for her status in the tribe, right? So that's the way it works.
Yep.
And it's not that women can't have things that they do that make them more attractive, because that's always been the case throughout all of human history. If you were a dumbass, unless the king was also a dumbass, you usually didn't go very far as a courtesan.
Yeah.
You had to cultivate some kind of intriguing talents or something. So it's not that women can honestly just present themselves. I mean, they can, but they're not necessarily going to get the cream of the crop. Let's say you're not going to get.
I think that's the thing about, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm sure there are people here who know this better than I do. But my understanding of geisha, you know what geisha are, Allison? You must know. They're like
Yes.
the dolled up Japanese hostesses, that would wear like the makeup and the dresses and all that. The geishas, people mistakenly say that they're like sex workers, but that wasn't really the intent. But they would have to know skills. They play instruments. They could sing songs. They would dance. So it was like the way that they would, comfort guests and such. They had to learn skills. And you had to learn a lot of them. So I think that's. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I thought of when you were explaining the thing about courtesans, because in a way, I mean, geishas sort of do that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, that's exactly. And honestly, if you were a potato, like, I mean, actually, attractiveness wasn't always the quality.
No.
Like, if you were personable, if you had interesting things to say, that was often much more credible. Like,
Absolutely.
apparently Cleopatra wasn't the most beautiful woman, but she understood men and she liked the things that men liked. So she did well for herself until, the asp. But like, so I'm not saying that women can, necessarily just do absolutely nothing, but, a woman isn't going to be rewarded by much for being a Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah.
She's not going to get necessarily a better partner.
Yeah.
Okay, she might get a better society, which is a good motivation, but that motivation to have a man isn't going to be there. So women in general aren't as motivated to do these things because they don't get the same rewards. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, let's keep going.
Society is about having that choice to make that decision.
Yes,
That's what feminism
but we
is about.
do.
It's
But
about
we already
having-
have that choice.
We
If
do have that
I want to go
But
own
it's
my own
being-
company,
it's
I
being
can.
restricted.
Like I said in the beginning, we've all agreed.
It's not being restricted.
How
you
is it being
dumbass.
restricted? Oh, it's just restricted. Why? How?
There's no legal restriction. You see, this is the thing. What is the restriction? Well, my brain chemicals go out and touch the women.
A man called me bossy once, and I was traumatized.
His powerful aura made me lose all sense of myself.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. Okay.
What?
No, I'm just saying, how are women restricted? The only way you can say women are restricted is by pretending that men have this ridiculous level of emotional and mental influence over women, which I have seen no goddamn evidence of. Unless the women themselves end up being so totally poisoned by feminism that they live in fucking terror of men breathing. But I can't stand being around women like that.
Yep.
It's just like they're just constantly pretending like things are, I don't know, maybe they're not pretending. They're terrified of men. They're terrified of the world. So they give the men around them this sense that their actions are well bigger than they actually are. Maybe that's appealing to men. I don't know.
Well,
it's not
men desire meaning, and right now I think they look to women for it too much. And they don't know how to vet women as deserving or not deserving of their service. So yeah, I mean, it's very distorted, but I do think that at the end of the day, men want to be useful. And the place where they can be most useful in their own minds is serving women. And you may disagree with that or whatever, but that's the reality. And I think that it's just been really distorted because we should do good for people who deserve it. And the problem is we can't determine women that don't deserve it because we have to just accept that they're all deserving. So,
And the
anyway.
funny thing is that we're also working a bit against human nature when we say, well, we gotta differentiate.
Yeah.
Because the society is most successful when its women are most provided and protected for.
Yeah.
And that's what we're fighting against. It's that instinct. It's like, no, we need to do that. We can't judge women by the content of their character, because we have to judge them by the fact that they are the producers of children.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge impetus. But you can't challenge it by whatever it is these women are doing and these men.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
All right, let's finish this up. This is almost over.
That the beginning of feminism was going in the right
Humanizing
direction.
women,
It
right?
was humanizing women. It was making them equal to men. It was giving us the same opportunities so that we can go vote.
No, that's bullshit. All of it. It's bullshit.
So that I can go get a job, so that I can drive a car. Like,
She can
there's
run for
other
president if she
countries
wants.
that I know that we weren't talking about other countries, but if you want to talk about feminism, go protect the women who get beat up for driving a car in other countries.
No women got beat up for driving a car.
Yeah, yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Again, like I said, normie takes. Not a big fan of the brunette. Okay, here's the thing. So there is a fifth wave. It's in its infancy. A fifth wave of feminism. And what I've learned, what little I have learned about it, is that it's sort of two things. Number one, well, it's three things. Number one, it's online mostly, which I think we saw that with the fourth wave anyway. Number two, it's global. So, they're like trying to like fight for women's rights in other countries, which is why things like the driving thing comes up a lot. Even though the truth is that like men had to drive women around. So and then maybe, there were much fewer accidents because there were fewer women on the road, right? Right? Okay, just kidding. But the last thing is, and I think this is the real like important part of this, it's going to be about reclaiming femininity and how mothers can be feminist, and how like stay-at-home mothers, housewives, they can all be feminist. So basically it's everything feminine. And I think I know the reason for this. I think it's because of the trans stuff that's going on. So there's like Louise Perry and a couple of other feminists that call themselves reactionary feminists because they're TERFs basically, and they're railing against the queer theorists or the queer lobby or whatever you want to call it, essentially to try to be able to like push men, or not men, trans women out of women's spaces. So in a lot of ways, these anti-feminist women on the right are just fifth wave feminists. And they don't know it, maybe, or they wouldn't use those words, but that's my guess. Except maybe the blonde. I think the blonde is probably like the least normie-ish one on the panel. So
I was wondering if that guy with the pecs was shorter. And I was like, yep. He's
Yeah,
even
a little
shorter
bit,
than
a
the
little
trans
bit.
man. Like,
He's like
wow.
literally shorter than the trans man.
Look
That's
at the
kind
way
of
he's
funny.
standing. He's like,
Yeah.
that's fucking ridiculous, dude. Do you have a setting called relax?
Yeah, I know. Why is he constantly flexing? He's trying to increase his size. Like, I'll just... But, what?
No, I was just saying,
Yeah, I don't know. He's really impressive. But the thing is that, yeah, again, like, who's this for? There's no other men on the panel, like, on the opposite side. It's all women. How do you deal with that, guys? How do you deal with that? How do you deal with women that are essentially thinking for themselves somewhat? I mean, even if I don't like their takes that much.
Well, like I said, what I was trying to get at the beginning is that you can't really expect, I don't want to say midwits, but this, like, it's difficult to comprehend these issues on a certain level.
Yeah.
Beyond what is, the instincts that are driving you, like to be able to go above them and actually look at them. That's difficult. I don't think they're there. Well, whatever. I mean, it's interesting.
Yep.
Maybe a lot of the trans stuff is becoming like a a material representation of the problems of feminism, really, if that makes sense. But so is that it? That's all for that one?
That's that section. So I think, and it's been almost 2 hours, so
Yes. You know
we
what?
can
I think
probably
can...
call it here. I'll go into the
And I
after
didn't
show.
even blow my top. I
What?
didn't even blow my top. I didn't blow my top. I don't think.
No. It wasn't
very calm.
It wasn't too infuriating.
No, it's just mildly like.
Yeah.
It's like watching. It's like watching, you know, chimpanzees try to comprehend a car. You know, just like they're hopping on the car, they're jumping on the car, they're going in and sitting in
being
the seat.
mischievous.
Yeah, it's just like you're not really gonna get it, but you're trying with the tools that you have.
Yeah.
So, you know, jolly good.
Yeah, this is literally why, by the way, I'm worried about AI. Not because I think Skynet's going to go live and launch the nukes, but because the people programming it, and the people who are inputting the information, they're going to leave things out. And one of the things I think that's going to be the most difficult is the truth about men. I'm seriously thinking that, like, this, at least the AI as it exists now, is never going to be honest about that. Because the bias comes from the people programming it. And I think the normie position, so let's say that they're just normies, okay? They're not even trying to, like, push feminism in the AI, although I do think that it will have that. They're still going to, like, you're still not going to get good responses. It doesn't matter if it searches the whole internet. It doesn't matter, because they're going to filter things. And I think that's dangerous. So, anyway. So, any last words before we call it out?
I have the best words. No, we thank you to everybody who helped us out. And once again, if you want to join our various generous supporters, go to feedthebadger.com/support. I really don't have anything further to say about this.
Is there no more thank yous to give?
No, there's no more thank yous to give. The
Okay.
last thing was the super chow that they sent because they wanted to hear your mysterious sound.
Yeah. I have a lot more that I didn't play, so.
But we'll have to do that another day. So anyway, thank you for joining us. Thank you for everybody who supported us. Feedthebadger.com/support. And if you also want to just send us a message and have us respond, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. All right.
Okay, so thank you for all the people who did support us. We really appreciate it. If you guys like this video, please smash that like button. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications so you know when our streams go live. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about what we discussed on the show today. Have you watched this video? What are your thoughts? We'll probably do another segment of this, like with Karen next week if she's available. I'm hoping that that's the case. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. And please share this video, because sharing is caring. It's like the best way you guys can help us out is to hit like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. So thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we will talk to you all in the next video.
Right, activists are machines, dude. Okay, they are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.